coming up from the Northeast Live Studios in Guwahati. Northeast Tonight with Wasbir Hussain.
Hello and welcome to Notice Tonight, the show that decodes the region. There is no end in sight to the logjam as far as the Naga peace talks are concerned. The big question that many are asking now is, has the peace process reached a dead end? This question has been asked because the NSCN-IM has made it very clear that they cannot give up their demand for a separate flag and constitution for the Nagas. The NSCN-IM has stated that the flag symbolizes the distinct identity of the Nagas as a race. On the other hand, the NNPGs, the other conglomeration of Naga rebel groups, are ready to sign a peace agreement even if some issues are kept pending to be discussed post an accord. The deadlock continues also because the NSCN-IM has refused to continue with the Government of India's current peace interlocutor R.N. Ravi, who is also the Nagaland governor. With the Government of India silent on the matter, the stalemate continues. And yes, there is an impression that is gaining ground that New Delhi is against a separate flag for any community in the country because the NDA government firmly believes in the one nation, one flag, one constitution philosophy. In this backdrop, where is the Naga peace process heading to? To discuss the issue, I am joined from Kohima by Naga Hoho advisor Mr. Chuba Ozukum. NPF Secretary General Mr. Achumbemo Kikon is also with me. Also likely to join me is Mmhonlumo Kikon, BJP National Spokesperson, and joining me as well is Dr. Xavier, Professor at Northeastern Hill University, Shillong, and a well-known commentator. Gentlemen, welcome to Northeast Tonight. Let me go first to you, Mr. Chuba Ozukum in Kohima, advisor to the Naga Hoho. Mr. Chuba Ozukum, many are asking this question now that after more than 25 years, where is the Naga peace process heading? Has the Naga peace process reached a dead end? What is the impression you are getting? What are your thoughts?
Okay, good evening, Wasbir.
Good evening.
Yeah, in the outset, I am compelled to say that I'm very pessimistic about ongoing political dialogue. Now, as you've said, one group of one Naga political group, which is comprised of 7 groups, they are now ready to sign political agreement with the government of India. But on the other hand, one group, that is NSCN-IM, they are very much adamant to sign any agreement without the recognition of a Naga flag and the constitution. Now, it's now more than a year that political dialogue is going on without appointing a interlocutor on behalf of the government of India. The political talk with NSCN-IM is going on with a representative from IB. Now, my observation is NSCN-IM is being pushed to the wall. They are simply breathing. And as per the position of the government of India, and what we have also learned is, India is not willing to sign the agreement with the NSCN-IM on the basis of a framework agreement. So there is no meeting point. We've also come to know that leaving aside the provision under the framework agreement, Government of India is now trying to impose her will upon the negotiators, which is very unfortunate. Naga political problem is something, Government of India should deal with the people with mutual respect and love. Otherwise, in the past, how many agreements have failed? There was no tangible solution. And even now, if Government of India is not prepared to bring out acceptable and honorable solution, then there is no hope to have a permanent solution in future.
All right, Mr. Chuba Ozukum, the Naga Hoho advisor there, very, very clear. He has said that the NSCN-IM has been pushed to the wall, that there has been practically no interlocutor. The talks with the NSCN-IM is being conducted by a representative of the Intelligence Bureau. He thinks there is no meeting point because the Government of India does not seem to be interested in going ahead, because the NSCN-IM has made its point very clear. They are not going to sign without a separate flag and constitution for the Nagas. How do we break this deadlock? That is the big question. Mr. Achumbemo Kikon, the Secretary General of the Naga People's Front, the main opposition party in Nagaland, the NPF has taken a very, very proactive role in talking to all the stakeholders under the leadership of the party chief, Mr. T.R. Jeliang, the former chief minister. Mr. Achumbemo Kikon, how do you look at the situation, this deadlock? Nobody seems to be trying to break the deadlock. That is the bigger worry.
Wasbir, I could not follow what Chuba Ozukum was saying, but as far as the present Naga peace process is concerned, it has taken quite a long years now, more than 2 decades. People are eagerly awaiting for an early solution, of course. It has to be an honorable, acceptable, and the NBF stand is an inclusive solution.
Right.
Now, you have been mentioning about the deadlock of the political talk. I think it will be too early for us to say that the talk has reached to a deadlock. There could be some hiccup here and there, but I think it will not be wise on our part to conclude that the talk has reached to a deadlock. Recently, we had a political affairs mission meeting on the 13th of this month from Dimapur at the residence of Mr. D.R. Zileng, our leader of the opposition, who is also the leader of the NBF legislative wing. And he has briefed us about his meeting with the Home Minister, Mr. Amit Shah, along with the Honorable CM of Nagaland at New Delhi, including the NITA chairman, Mr. Himanta Biswas Sarma. We were informed that as far as the Government of India is concerned, they have submitted a kind of proposal to the NSCN-IM leadership to consider the proposal of the Government of India.
Right.
Then Then after that, since there is no response from the NSCN-IM, the Government of India also seems to be engaged with the various elections, including the elections in Assam. Now, because of the election going on in West Bengal, in Assam, Tamil Nadu, so on and so forth, there are 3-4 states where elections are being held. And we were informed that the talk will be resumed after all these election processes are completed. Now, from the NSCN-IM perspective, we have been learning, and they have given an open statement that without the constitution and the flag, Naga flag, there cannot be any solution. If you see from that point of view, yes, we can see some a kind of a problem coming up in the ongoing dialogue. However, if the government of India is serious enough, if they are sincere, there is no problem that cannot be resolved.
Right.
When they have engaged them for the past more than 20 years now, I think suddenly saying that the proposal, the point that you are submitting or you are talking to us are not acceptable, I think that is something which government of India as a nation, as a nation that has engaged the NSCN-IM as well as the other Naga political groups in the political negotiations. Suddenly, if they take such a stand, it will also exhibit the immaturity of the government of India as a nation, as a democracy that has existed for the past more than 50, 60 years.
Right.
So,
now, what Mr. Achumbemo Kikon, basically, what I gather from what you were saying is that the ball is in the court of the government of India. Almost after 25 years of negotiations, nobody is expecting New Delhi to say that, okay, forget about it, we cannot concede your demands, and so let's call off the talks and forget about it. So that is not expected from a mature democracy and a very, very democratically elected government like that of Mr. Narendra Modi. Nobody is expecting that. Let me go to you, Professor Xavier Mao, professor at NEHU and a well-known commentator joining me live from Shillong. Professor Xavier Mao, we have heard two important voices. One from Mr. Chuba Ozukum, the advisor of the Naga Hoho, who is very pessimistic. He says that the talks are going on virtually without an interlocutor after the NSCN-IM has refused to accept Mr. Ravi as the interlocutor, demanding a change, and said that the government of India is talking to NSCN-IM through an IB representative. And he's also said that NSCN-IM has made it very clear that they cannot engage in any kind of dialogue, or for that matter cannot sign on the dotted lines without the flag and constitution being granted to the Nagas, and therefore there is no meeting point. But Mr. Achumbemo Kikon has put the ball in the court of the government of India, which is obvious, and he is of course not as pessimistic as Mr. Chuba Ozukum. Where do you stand? Do you think anybody is even trying to break the logjam?
Well, Wasbir, I am more inclined with Chuba Ozukum, and my reasons are that the government of India is also not a government of the people, for the people and by the people, but government by the party, for the party and of the party. Thereby, the interest of the people is not at the center, unfortunately. Similarly, even the NSCN-IM, they are also not keeping the people at the center. If they keep people at the center, then they should have some consideration of the pragmatism and realism at this point of time. Their primary concentration is military confrontation of Mao Zedong's power flows from the barrel of a gun, but they forget other important policies and ideas of Mao Zedong's of the cultural revolution, economic, educational, etc., or democratization of the Naga society. So that part, they are also not given much importance in my observation. Nagas have been suffering so long for lack of development, for stagnation, and therefore we cannot go on suffering from lack of development. Therefore, I would say, yes, both sides have to come to the middle ground.
Now,
maybe
Professor,
the national
Professor,
yeah.
you cannot only blame blame the government of India because the government of India under various prime ministers have been continuously engaged in discussions for 25 years now, 24 years to be precise. So, for the last 24 years, government of India under various prime ministers have been engaged in dialogue with the Naga insurgent groups, Naga national groups. But the point is, now after so many years, when everybody was thinking that the talks, that the accord will be signed, we have heard that the NSCN-IM is sticking to their demand of a separate flag and constitution. Now where is the, how to break this deadlock?
Right.
Can the NSCN itself come up with a formula? That is the question I am asking. Does the NSCN-IM has a formula to break this deadlock, which is largely their creation?
Well, the NSCN-IM can give up a separate constitution, but the flag may be retained alongside Indian national flag. And that separate flag is not the symbol of Naga identity. It is rather the symbol of a separate nation. Naga identity will be development of the Naga language, development of the Naga people, protection of their interests. That will be the Naga identity. But separate flag, separate constitutions are the symbols of a separate nation, which the government of India at this point of time will not be in a position to concede. Therefore, this much NSCN-IM should give up separate constitution, and government of India's side should also move to recognize the existing Naga national flag alongside the Indian national flag, not as a separate flag as such.
Okay.
Which is prevalent in many other countries, even in Finland, in Sweden, even USA, even China.
Right. That is what Professor Xavier Mao is saying. That is his view. Professor Mao is saying that NSCN-IM should give up their demand for a constitution, but certainly not the flag, because flag symbolizes the identity of the Nagas as a nation, as a race, as a people. I'll take reactions from Mr. Achumbemo Kikon and Mr. Chuba Ozukum. Before coming to Mr. Chuba Ozukum, let me tell you viewers that we had invited Mr. Meren Tosi of the NDPP. We had invited Mr. Mmhonlumo Kikon of the Nagaland BJP, both part of the coalition government ruling the state, but nobody agreed to represent in this program today. Mr. Mmhonlumo Kikon said he will join, but eventually he cited some preoccupations and he did not join the program. So the viewpoint of the ruling combination in Nagaland is not there on this program. I'm putting it on record. Now let me go to you, Mr. Chuba Ozukum. Mr. Chuba Ozukum, a lot of people would want to know how to break the deadlock, how to break the logjam, how to break the stalemate. Because I will not use the word deadlock, because Mr. Achumbemo Kikon said that it has not reached a deadlock so far. I accept that. Let me use another word, how to break the stalemate. Because NSCN-IM is saying that we cannot do anything unless our demand for flag and constitution is accepted. Now, we have a commentator, Professor Xavier Mao, saying that NSCN should give up their demand for a constitution, but flag they cannot give up. What is your view on this?
See, Wasbir, to me, it is not stalemate, but it is already in deadlock. Because it's quite some time now that NSCN-IM and the government of India, they are unable to have formal political talks. They might have met for several times in the past, maybe during the last more than a year, but all these were informal talks. And when there is no meeting point between the two parties, then that is a deadlock. Now, when we talk about the Constitution, to me, we cannot call a nation without recognizing their identity in the form of having a separate constitution. And I also feel that when we think about the Naga identity, the Naga culture, the unique history of the Nagas, these are all, constitutional rights. So the question is whether government of India is willing to sign the agreement with the NSCN-IM on the basis of a framework agreement or not. Whether India is ready to uphold the framework agreement, which they have signed in 2015. That is one. Secondly, as I have stated earlier, Naga political issue is something which is very delicate, very sensitive in nature. Because in the past, agreements were signed, but we could not resolve the problem. That is why another ceasefire agreement was signed in 1997, and the political negotiation is still on. If India is just if India just try to resolve our problem with with carrot and stick in their hands, then there will be adverse consequences. There will be repercussion. That is one. Now, I've been thinking we have 60 members in Nagaland who were elected by the people. Whether it is opposition members or ruling, I strongly feel that if 60 members can sacrifice for a few months or maybe 1 year and seriously dwell on this subject matter, the political process,
right,
then I think there is ways and means. They can bring the Naga people together.
Let me take
to
this.
Support.
Yeah, Mr. Ozukum, let me bring Mr. Achumbemo Kikon into the debate. Mr. Achumbemo Kikon, I don't know whether you heard Mr. Chuba Ozukum this time, but he is basically saying that if the 60
because of the network, I could not follow.
Okay, let me paraphrase what he said. Mr. Chuba Ozukum said that if the 60 elected representatives sacrifice for 6 months or 1 year and only dwell on this particular issue, that is the Naga peace, they will be able to unite the Naga people. He has faith. Mr. Chuba Ozukum has expressed his faith in the elected representatives who are elected by the Naga people themselves. He said that you have to sacrifice and bring the Naga people together. And let me also ask you, that means, do you think the government of India has not taken the resolution of the Nagaland Assembly for the 6th or 7th times now? Do you think your resolution demanding early settlement is being taken seriously by the center?
Before I answer to your question, you have mentioned about inviting the ruling BJP as well as in TPP here in Nagaland, and they refuse to participate. In fact, they should be the one eagerly and actively participating in this kind of program and explicitly explain to our people what is the progress of the talk and also how our people should go about. But it's unfortunate if they have backed out at the last moment or if they have disagreed. I'm afraid if this kind of attitude is shown from the ruling alliance, it is very unfortunate. Well, having said that, to come back to your question about what Chuba Ozukum has just stated, for the past 15 years consecutively, the NPF was in power. You are aware of it.
Yes.
And when NPF was in power, the first and the foremost resolution that we used to adopt in the party meeting as well as in the governmental level is, at any moment we will pave the way for the solution for a new dispensation. These are the resolutions that we used to adopt both in the party as well as in the government level. And I don't know what kind of stand this government is adopting at the moment, because we are not a part of the government, we are in the opposition. Well, as far as the question of, that's why the question of 60 MLAs resigning, that for us, for the NPF, we have been cooperating with the move on any move on the Naga peace process, because it is for all of us. It is not for my party or your party alone, but it is for all of us. And therefore, it concerns the future of the Naga people, for which the NPF at no point of time have refused to cooperate with the present dispensation, present government. We have our consistent stand and commitment, whether in the ruling or in the opposition, that as far as Naga issue is concerned, as far as for a peaceful negotiated settlement of the Naga political issue is concerned, NPF has a paramount interest in it, and that is always our first point of view, our first stand. Now, even now, we have been cooperating with the government of the day in Nagaland in carrying forward on activities that is, pushing further for early, honorable, acceptable, and inclusive solution to the Naga political issue. For us, if a situation demands, we will not hesitate, because we have done it so. I have stated this in various of you, in so many of your show, that when the first ceasefire was signed in 1964, with that time it was known as the NNCFGN, and the NPF, it was known as Democratic Party of Nagaland, DBN. 12 members were there, and we resigned after the ceasefire, which was signed on the 6th of September 1964. And following which, there are so many instances where this party has sacrificed for the Naga political issue. Even today, if such situation demands, party as a whole is ready. The legislatures, we are in unison as far as this point is concerned, and therefore that should not be it should not be considered as a stumbling block from as far as the NPF party is concerned and the legislature wing is concerned. Now, another point which you are raising about the issue of the resolutions, which you have just mentioned. Yes, Nagaland Legislative Assembly has passed so far 7 resolutions supporting the Naga political issue, and for an early as well as integration of the Naga issue. This is the resolution we normally adopt in the Nagaland Legislative Assembly in the past 7 resolutions. Now, these resolutions are being properly communicated to the government of India. From the establishment like the Legislative Assembly, passing a resolution, communicating to the government of India, I think the government of India should take it seriously if they are serious on the Naga political issue. Because whether it is the elected members or the civil societies, the public as a whole, individuals, everyone expresses its concern for early honorable solution of the Naga issue, including the elected members. And therefore, the government of India ought to take it seriously, because it will, if we fail this time, we have already experienced 2-3 occasions how the accords fail because of the wrong attitude of the government of India in trying to use some kind of tactics to suppress the movement instead of finding a tangible solution. And this is an opportune moment for all of us when they have already engaged at the highest level. Now, Chuba, I think he has mentioned about the NSCN-IM being left out without interlocutor. In one of our meetings with the Indian officials in New Delhi, in our last visit, we have met some of the officials, and they have told us candidly that they have been mandated by the highest leadership in the government of India. Who is the highest leadership? Highest leadership means the Prime Minister. And with the knowledge of the Prime Minister, They have been engaged with the NSCN-IM leadership. And therefore,
fair enough.
Now,
yes.
if a solution has to be arrived, I think the government of India should be reasonable in its approach, because there is enough inputs from all angles to the highest leadership with the government of India. And therefore, and now the government of India is,
Right.
I've said it, it's a mature nation, and therefore a mature leadership is leading the nation, and therefore they must now analyze all these inputs
Absolutely.
and come to a logical conclusion where it has to be acceptable
or not
to a large extent.
Right. I will have to go for a short break. Don't go away. I'll be right back. I'll also like to put on record that we had also invited representatives of the Naga Tribes Council and the Gaon Buras Federation, but the two leaders of these two organizations also could not attend for reasons best known to them. We'll go for a short break. Don't go away. I'll be right back. Welcome back. Let me go straight to you, Mr. Chuba Ozukum, live from Kohima. Mr. Chuba Ozukum, do you think the time has come for the civil society as well as the elected representatives, that means the 60 MLAs, to close ranks? Because let us be frank, we have to speak certain things straight, Mr. Chuba Ozukum. Everybody knows that the Naga civil society, like the Naga national groups, are also vertically split into two opinions. One on the NSCN-IM side, which says that the flag and constitution is a precondition, it's a must. The other group, the NNPG, is saying that we must be practical and pragmatic. We can sign the agreement and all the matters of dispute, whatever remains, can be discussed even after the accord is signed. And the civil society is also split into somebody taking the side of the NSCN point of view, other taking the side of the NNPG point of view. Now, in this kind of a situation, Mr. Chuba Ozukum, considering that, as you said, there is a definite deadlock, do you think everybody should shed their differences, come together, and as a combined entity approach the government of India to break this logjam and restart the dialogue, or give a final push to the Naga peace that is acceptable to all?
Yeah, I have to admit that there is a sharp division among the Naga civil societies. Naga civil societies, I don't know how many organizations are supporting NSCN-IM or other groups. But only thing is, even on the part of civil society leaders, they have to be realistic. And yes, without the unity among the civil society leaders, we cannot expect a solution. As of now, it is not only among the civil societies, but there is also problems between the tribes, not to talk about the political groups. This is one area of concern. On the other hand, yes, there is also disunity, a sharp division among the Naga political groups. Now, if we think about the 16-point agreement and the creation of statehood, even after 57 years of statehood, government of India is unable to implement all the provisions under 16-point agreement. So, if we're to give some other points to be discussed post-solution, we cannot expect positive from the government of India. When they cannot implement even a 16-point agreement in later in spirit. I'm not blaming any individual or particular groups, but whatever is possible, whatever is Naga people, whatever we're going to get, it has to be discussed, hammer out the differences, the problems, and sign the agreement. Then only we can have a peaceful life even in future. That is what I feel. But yes, I really feel that the Naga people must come together, and at the same time, on the part of government of India, they also should not try to take undue advantage because of our disunity and division among the Naga people. Yes, there will be differences in disunity in a democratic society.
Right.
But that division cannot be the reason to prolong our political negotiation without having any tangible solution.
Right. Let me come to you, Professor Mao, before going to Mr. Achumbemo Kikon once again. Professor Mao, now, do you think the sharp division within the Naga national political groups and the sharp division within the civil society organization, do you think that is one of the main reasons why a solution, an acceptable solution, is eluding so far? Because, you know, the Naga reconciliation, Naga Forum for Reconciliation, the church, they tried so many years to bring about a unity among the Naga political groups, but that did not happen. So even today there is a sharp difference between the Naga political groups, between the civil society. Do you think that is one of the reasons why a solution is eluding us so far?
I would say it is not so much because of the sharp division, but even the government of India, what Indira Gandhi had conceded in the past, even that much, the present government is not willing. As per my interaction with the Naga civil society leaders and the Naga intellectuals and the general Naga public, they are reluctantly accepting Naga integration with development package and not territorial council or regional council, but with the national flag side by side with the Indian national flag, that they are reluctantly willing to accept. But the government of India, on its part, as you were saying, different prime ministers have engaged with the Naga peace talk, but then they can also follow the policy of engagement with the idea of a slow natural death and rhetoric. They are also not sincere. This is my point of view. So I am quite definite that as per my interaction with a lot of the Naga intellectuals and the Naga general public, if Naga integration along with development package and the separate flag, I think they can accept it. They will accept it.
Right.
But to settle other things later on, as Chuba has rightly said, I don't think the government of India will implement later on.
Okay,
So that is my view.
Mr. Achumbemo Kikon, you know, nobody is surprised if there is difference among political parties. You belong to the, you are one of the topmost leaders of the Naga People's Front. You have your own viewpoint. The NNDP may be having their own viewpoint. That is understandable because no two political parties can be ideologically similar. No two political parties have the same approach in achieving a solution. That is not surprising. But my question I am asking you as a seasoned politician, you know, the difference of opinion within the civil society, the disunity within the civil society, how far is it impacting the peace process, according to you?
Well, yes, I cannot totally deny that there is a variation of opinion. In a struggling society like us, a nation where we are trying to have a nation of our own, definitely there could be a lot of voices, individually, organizational point of view, so many voices with a different kind of opinion. But Wasbir, you must remember that when it comes to Naga issue, actually every Naga feels that Naga's identity needs to be preserved,
yes,
and we cannot compromise on this. And there are various ways of defining that identity. I don't want to go that into detail on this debate. Now, you are saying that because of the variation of opinion amongst the various civil societies and various organizations, it is having an impact on the mind, let us say on the minds of the government of India. I think the government of India knows best why they have engaged the various Naga nationalist groups in the dialogue. Yes, it is the consensus is required, but in this kind of situation, when Nagas have been compelled to take up even armed struggle for the past so many years, now government of India is aware whom to be engaged and why they have engaged the Naga nationalist group in the political talk. The opinion of the individuals, the organization is also absolutely important. I'm not saying that it is not important. It is absolutely important, yes, because we need to build, we need to find a sustainable peace, a kind of a solution where everybody must enjoy a peaceful life. That is the target. But however, since we have gone through a long armed struggle, and for which government of India realized the strength and the weakness of this, the armed movement for so many years. Now, having realized, having recognized the strength of that movement, they have brought in for a peaceful political dialogue, and the dialogue has gone on for the past 2.5 decades. Now, the histories are being properly briefed. It is handled at the highest level, Wasbir. No, the issue is being handled at the highest level, at the Prime Minister level. Now, after engaging for the past 2.5 decades, if you are saying that we cannot find a solution, then we must question the wisdom, the sincerity, and the attitude of the government of India in that situation. But now, if we drive our leaders, if we drive the Naga nationalist group further from this process, it has taken us more than, from Shillong Accord, if you count, 1975 to 1997. How many years was that? After a gap of almost 40 years, they have brought them back to the table again for discussion. Now, if you are saying that you can't find a solution, there is no meeting point. I think it is exhibiting immatureness. It is a kind of lacking wisdom on the part of the government of India, or a political will for a solution.
No,
They
Mr.
cannot make an excuses that there is a variation of opinion amongst the Naga society and therefore we cannot find a solution. I think that kind of argument, I'm not convinced with that argument.
Mr. Chuba Ozukum, you know, at the end of the day, we are waiting for a solution. Now, we have seen the NSCN-IM making its point. We have seen the NNPGs making its point. In the meantime, several other NSCN factions have come over ground. We had Nikki Sumi coming over ground and expressing his desire to join the peace process. So do you think this was the best time for the government of India to arrive at a solution, government of India as well as the Naga groups to reach a solution, because you have a government of Mr. Prime Minister Narendra Modi that enjoys absolute majority in parliament. So do you think this was the best opportune moment actually?
Yeah, Wasbir. In fact, we've been expecting to sign the agreement at least 5 years back. When the BJP came to power in the center, no doubt in the beginning, in some of the northeastern states, BJP government was not there, but within no time in all the states, BJP could form the government. And that is what the Indian leaders and the BJP leadership has been telling the Naga people. The agreement will be signed very soon. You know how many times the former governor of Nagaland have assured to the Naga people, and the Home Minister, the Prime Minister, they have been giving us assurances for the past few years, but nothing was happening. That is why we've also become very pessimistic. We are now discouraged. But yes, even now, there is a lot of opportunity. This is the opportune time for the central government to initiate the peace process and then sign the agreement.
Now,
who knows if the BJP government is removed in some of the northeastern states, especially like Manipur or Assam, then what will happen again? So yes, if they cannot sign the agreement within this a few months' time, I think there will be another hiccups. There will be a problem, more problem.
Let me turn to Professor Mao. Professor Xavier Mao, what is your opinion? Do you think this was the best time for the government of India as well as the Nagas to actually push ahead and sign an agreement that is acceptable to all? Do you think this was the most opportune period in India's electoral history, because you have a government in New Delhi that enjoys absolute majority?
You are right on the surface of it. With absolute BJP majority government, if they wish to resolve the long-running Naga insurgency problem, they can. But the big question is whether the government of India has the political will, as I said earlier, with the people at the center. The way you look at the farmers' issue, the way you look at the negligence of the government of India in the education sector, they have completely neglected. Look at the even health sector. Several other issues, they are more concerned for the party rather than the people. But if they truly care for the people, even the Naga integration is very much within the Indian constitution. And that is one of the deep aspirations of the Naga people. So that they should have considered. But instead they are proposing territorial council or regional council. And likewise, even if separate flag alongside Indian national flag. That is also not at all difficult if they have a true interest and true genuine empathy and genuine concern for the people. And that in the long run is good even for the India as a whole. And likewise, even Naxalite issues and even Kashmir issues, many other issues,
I'm running
people
short
are
of
kept
time.
at the center.
Right. Professor, hold your thoughts. Final
So
comments.
It can be resolved.
Final
with
comments
the
from
political will.
Final comments from Mr. Achumbemo Kikon. Mr. Achumbemo Kikon, what can a party like yours, what can the NPF do now in this kind of a situation when there is a logjam? What is your party going to do in the next few days? Final comments, 30 seconds.
Yes, as far as the NPF is concerned, we have been trying and we will try further to bring all the Naga nationalist group to do a meeting point for a kind of mutual understanding so that we can carry forward the peace process effectively. Number one. Number two, on the part of the NPF party as well as the legislature wing, we have not been failing on our part in giving our fullest support to the government of the day. Of course, we are in the opposition, but I have stated this and I'm repeating it. As far as the Naga issue is concerned, we have a consistent stand. It is our commitment, whether we are in the ruling or whether we are in the opposition, we will continue to strive to work for a negotiated political solution of the Naga political issue. And therefore, towards this end, we have been extending fullest cooperation so long as the PDA government is sincere in its effort. But the way that they have shown today, even refusing to participate in your program, in your show today, I'm afraid if this is the attitude, then it will be very unfortunate on the part of the government of the day. On our part, we will definitely cooperate because it is for the interest of the Naga people as well as for our neighboring communities if the Naga issue is honorably settled for all of us.
The doors of Notice Live will always be open for all views, including those of the NDPP and the BJP, apart from, of course, the Gaumburas Federation and the Naga Tribes Council and everybody. I hope they participate next time round because it is not for us, because the people, the stakeholders would like to hear their views because this is the most important issue concerning the Naga people anywhere in the world. They are watching closely as to what kind of a solution they are going to get and when. I thank all my panelists for participating in this very engaging discussion and the viewers for watching the program. Good night and goodbye.